Hello, everybody. My name is Melissa Catoni, and today I am going to show you how to book a destination wedding from start to finish. All right, so the first thing that you want to figure out is pretty much, are planning destination weddings right for me? So there's a couple of things you do need to put into some consideration. So one thing, the biggest thing possible is, are you organized? So when you are dealing with multiple destination weddings at once, there is going to be a lot of organization that you guys are going to need to know and being able to deal with, such as spreadsheets and making sure you have the different guest lists and knowing which guest list goes to which wedding and which wedding goes to which resort. So there's a lot of organization involved just in making sure that you're not mixing up all the weddings into one pretty much. Are you able to make time throughout the process? So when I started my first destination wedding, I did not realize how much time it was going to take up. I am dealing with the destination weddings from morning to the end of my day, whether it is flights or changing up reservations or canceling reservations or dealing with refunds. Is definitely a consistent thing that I'm doing throughout each and every business day for me. Another one is, can you be in good standing communication with resorts? So you want to make sure that you are in communication with the resort and the wedding planners if you do decide to do destination weddings. This will not only build the rapport, but just so you know, you are getting the correct rooms, the correct room types, everybody's getting their correct beds, and so on and so forth. So you want to make sure that you are constantly in good standing communication with those resorts, just to make sure everything goes flawlessly as much as it can, especially if you're not going to be there. Can you handle situations under stress? So this kind of goes for people didn't book their flights, or their flights were canceled, or flights delayed. And so you want to make sure you are able to handle those situations.
Travel zone. Why is it still loud?
May I have everybody mute? Is that, yeah, can I have everybody mute your mics, please? Thank you. Another thing is, are you personable? So just because you are considered the client of the bride and groom, for those people who are booking through you, those are pretty much considered your clients as well. So you want to treat them as if they are your other clients as well. Because if you think about it, they're choosing to book with you through the room block. They don't have to book through the room block, but they're choosing to. All right, so these are a couple of things that you do need to do first if you do decide that you want to do weddings. So the first thing is, you want to create a process on how to tackle weddings. So through this presentation here, I am going to show you personally how I do it. You could take what I do, or you are going to find a certain rhythm of what will also work with you as well. Another thing that you want to do is, you want to create a new inquiry form specifically for weddings. At first, I was just using my normal travel inquiry, but I realized that I needed something more to it. So whenever somebody, or I have a potential client that asks specifically for weddings, now I have a specific form that I will send them. And I will show you as well on what you should be putting on those forms as well, just to kind of give you guys a good idea. You want to create a separate calendar for destination wedding consultations. So for me, I do a free consultation just to kind of go through the form and figuring out and making sure what exactly that they're looking for. And that will also give us a good idea on if I am a good fit for the client, as well as vice versa, pretty much. You can set a destination wedding fee, and that is optional. My first wedding, I did not charge a fee. And after realizing how much work is put into it, I do now charge $800. And that is pretty much like my starting fee. What do you want to include in your services? So with me, I include like monthly meetings. I include updated advisories, and I will show you that in a copy of my Google form that I'm going to show you guys towards the end as well, just to give you guys a couple ideas. All right, so the next thing you want to do is qualify your wedding. So you probably heard this a gazillion times. You want to qualify your client. Yes, same thing. You do want to qualify the wedding as well. So the first thing you want to do is, after you get the inquiry, you want to get them on the phone. right away, just so you guys can know what exactly you guys are looking for, making sure you guys are on the same page. Different kinds of questions that you do want to ask your client, and this can also go into your Google form also. So one thing is, where do they want to go? So you want to be as specific as possible with their location. If they tell you somewhere tropical or somewhere with a beach, you want to make sure you narrow that location down, or else they're going to throw you into circles a million times. So you want to narrow it down to a specific location. When do they want to get married? So you want to make sure you get the exact wedding date. A big issue that I had was that I would get clients that would say sometime in January or sometime in February. Yeah, that's not going to work, especially when you're actually reaching out to the resorts. They're going to want to know the exact date. So that is going to be one thing that you do need to get from them. How many people? Will there be kids? So that's another thing. When you are planning a destination wedding, you want to make sure you know exactly the demographic of guests that are going to be there. So if it's going to be adult only, okay, great. You can look into like the Secrets resorts, but there's going to be kids. You will have to go and look at the Dreams resorts for an example. So you want to make sure you know exactly who is going to be there. How many rooms will they need for the room block? So this is going to give you a good idea if you are going to need a contract or not. But last but not least, you want to figure out what kind of services that they're looking for you. Did they already book their wedding, but they're trying to look for somebody just for the room block? Do they need both? Are they just looking for advice because they don't even know where to start? That's pretty much what you want to figure out from there as well. You do want to get the two budgets. So there are going to be two budgets that you are going to get from the client. One is going to be the wedding package budget, and then the other one is going to be the room block budget. So I know that the room block budget tends to be a little bit iffy for the client because they don't know exactly how much their guests are going to want to pay to fly to Mexico or fly to St. Lucia to go see them get married. So I do have them give me like a ballpark amount for me to work with. You do want to let the client know that it does take 3 weeks to a month from the research to the contract signing, only because in between all that time, you are getting wedding brochures, you are finding out which resorts can accommodate. And also, once they pick the resort, it does take about a week or so for the contract to be made up by the resort and by the supplier. All right, so then the next thing you want to do is after they pay your fee, if you do charge a fee, after you qualify them, now comes the research part of it. So generally, I normally stick with the VAX because I feel like they have been the most responsive to me, and it's been easy with them when it comes to the room block, so I use them. So I go to VAX, and what I do is I create a mock booking to see what is in their budget. So if I see that their budget, like their top end of their budget is at the low end of like the results, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that client and be like, hey, I'm going to like, in order for me to give you some good results or give you some good options, I'm going to need you to up that budget up a little bit if they are able to. So you want to see what options that they have. You do want to ask for a budget increase. So during that time of your research, whichever resorts that you do get, you want to reach out to the resorts, and you want to make sure before you even give them that option, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that the wedding date is open, and you want to make sure you can get any wedding brochures for them for their wedding packages. All right. What else here? Yep, and then you want to pretty much send the client their options to review for follow-up. All right, and then here comes the follow-up. So you do want to send a meeting after you send them all that information. So I do like to set up a meeting probably within like 3 days, just so everything is fresh in their mind and they had a chance to look at their options. And then what you want to do is during that, you want to figure out what are their pros, what are their cons, was there a specific resort that they really liked? And so you want to try and get that narrowed down to one resort if possible. All right. And then once you narrow it down to that one resort, what you want to do is you want to start an email thread with the wedding planner of that resort and the wedding couple. You want to make sure though that you are looped into that email thread, because it's going to be very important in the future. So you know when that contract is signed for that wedding package and when you know it's okay to start that room block. That kind of goes segue into the next bullet here. So you want to make sure that you do not start the room block until the wedding contract is signed. Because what's going to happen is if you do the room block contract before the wedding contract is signed, but then they end up not being able to get have their wedding there, now you're stuck with a room block contract with no wedding. So you want to make sure that their wedding is locked and secured before you start the room block. And then generally what will happen is after that deposit is made with the resort for their wedding package, so the bride and groom, they are going to do that on their own. Once they say, okay, great, the deposit has been made and so on and so forth, more than likely the resort is going to send you a form to fill out. In that case, most of the time you will get a commission off of the wedding package itself as well. So that's a little bonus on your end. All right, so the wedding is now locked and secured. So here is what you're going to do next. So now you are going to start your room block. So what you want to do is you want to ask the client, okay, what kind of rooms are you looking for your guests? Are you looking for the only garden view? Are you looking for ocean view? Are you looking for a specific type of suite? So I do like for them to give me at least 3 different options to work with to send to the supplier for those group rates. All right, and then I do get a lot of questions. So which should I be using with VAX? So if you're booking between 5 and 9 rooms, you want to use groupies. But if you can guarantee 10 rooms or more, that is going to be considered a group contract, which a contract will be signed. And I'm going to show you the differences in a little bit here. All right. Yeah, and then another thing I do want to mention, when it comes to the room types, so let's just say the room types were only garden and ocean view, but they wanted a preferred club suite. You don't have to worry. So what you are going to do is you're going to contact the supplier and say, hey, I have a guest that wants a different room type. And then what they're going to do is they're going to load that into your dashboard if you are in a group contract. When you are doing a group contract, I do like to set it for a minimum of 4 nights. And then generally what will happen is on your dashboard, FunJet has a thing where they will release rooms a couple days before and a couple days after. So so they normally give you a week to use that room block. And if you are doing a contract, I do suggest that you do land only, because if you add air into it, it just becomes too complicated. But you can add air to their reservation though. All right. Yep, and then you just want to make sure that you tell your clients it does take a couple of days for them to get you quotes for the room block. And then now I want to show you like the differences between the group E's and the contractor groups. So the group E's is basically like a promo code that you will get. With group E's, it does not hold the room. So it is just like any other reservation. It is based on availability. And it's pretty much the concept of the more you spend, the more you save. So here I do have a example. So this will be sent to your email. And as you see on the bottom here, it is going to give you pretty much like a table. So if you spend between $500 and $999, you'll get $13 off. Spend $1,000 to $2,500, you'll get $25 off. And then up at the top there, it will give you a promo code. Just for client purposes, I did blur that out though. And then as you book these, you will book it as a normal trip within FunJet. And then when you see at the bottom of the, where you go to do your search, where you see promo code, that is going to be where you put in the promo code. All right, and then the room block for the contracted groups. So with these, so the rooms are held, but the bedding is based on availability. So for an example, for my client that is going to Secrets, they are showing all as double beds, but you can submit for a king bed, but is based on availability. So I do tell the client that I am able to request it, but it is not a guarantee. All right, and then the contract generally does include both the resort and the round trip airport transfers. So at this point, a contract must be signed, but before you sign the contract with the resort, or sign the contract with the supplier, what you want to do is you want to duplicate that contract. So what you want to do is you want to take out key points in between each of those each point of the contract. So you want to take out like how much is going to be. You want to take out you want to put in the deadline dates and so on and so forth, just like those key elements. And then you are pretty much going to make your own contract, right? So what you want to do is at the bottom of the contract that you're going to have, you want to have them sign and date that. So once they sign and date their contract with you, then you can go ahead and you can sign the contract with the supplier, because God forbid if anything happens, at least they will be reliable for any extra fees. All right, so once again, do not sign with the supplier until the client signs the contract with you, just to guarantee that cushion there. All right, and then when it comes to the contracted groups, it does take about a week for the contract to be written up. All right, and then after the contract is written up and it's signed, you will get a dashboard that will open up within the FundJet supplier, and that will open up within a couple days. All right, so the big details. So this kind of goes back to what I was telling you, how you want to create a contract for your clients. So you want to put in any deposits that are due at the time. You want to go over the penalty dates with them. You want to go over the room types and rates, and also any concessions that they have. Are they going to be legible for any upgraded rooms? Are they going to be eligible for nonstop transfers, welcome parties, cocktail parties, free rooms, free upgrades? So the concessions are endless pretty much. So you want to make sure you go over all of that with them as well. All right, so a couple things that you want to do next. So you want to reach out to the client after everything is said and done, deposits are made, everything is good. You want to make sure you let them know that everything is all set. So, and the next thing you want to do is you do want to get a copy of the guest list to keep track of the bookings, because there's nothing worse than trying to figure out who is going to which wedding pretty much. So you do want to get that guest list copy. It is a bonus if you are able to get their email addresses too. What I like to do is I do like to make a flyer of the highlights of that specific resort, just to give to the guests as they start reaching out to me for their inquiries to book. So this is kind of like an example here. So I put like the names, the resort, the wedding date, and I did put in the 2 different room types. And then just a couple of quick facts, like how many dining and lounge options there are, pools, hot tubs, entertainment. So that's kind of like that extra, just so they don't have to go through the hassle of figuring out, okay, so what is it exactly at that resort? Because to me, like, I don't know about you, if you guys have seen like the websites for secrets or dreams, they are pretty lengthy and there was a lot of click through. So just to kind of make it a little bit easier for them. All right, you want to write down your deadline dates in your calendar. This is important. This goes for any penalties, final payment dates, and so on and so forth. So when I started doing destination weddings, I did take a you contact them approach. So what I did was I created my own Google form and I handed it over to the bride and groom for them to give to their guests and be like, okay, when you're ready to book for your room, this is going to be the link that you do. And this is going to save so much time and a lot of phone calls. And especially if you're handling more than 2 or 3, just so you're not getting that constant ringing of your phone, you will be able to determine when you're going to contact them. All right, and then the next thing you want to do is tell your mentor about your booking for recognition, because there's nothing better than recognizing our agents and the big bookings and the big accomplishments that you guys are all doing. All right, so next comes the hassle-free Google form. So this is what I use for the guests to fill out. So a couple of things that you do want to get is one, their demographics. So you want to get their name, their email, their phone number. You do want to figure out how many travelers are going to be on that reservation, as well as how many rooms that they are booking for that reservation as well. You do want to get arrival date and departure date. So what you want to do is you want to put on there when the room block starts and when the room block ends. And then also what I do is I put in the rates of those rooms as well. You want to put in which room type that they prefer. Do they prefer the ocean view? Do they prefer the garden view? Do they want another type of room that wasn't listed? They can let me know. Airfare, if so, you want to get the airline preferences. Do you want to get which airline that they're flying out of? So in this case, what I found tricky with the weddings that I have done was that a lot of the guests are very surprised and shocked with how much it is for airfare. So what I do is I send them 2 quotes. So I send them one with the airfare and I do send them one without, because at this point, really the only important thing that we need is to get that room booked. All right, before that deadline date. They can go ahead and book their flights on their own or anytime where they see that the flights do drop. So I do tell them, here are 2 quotes. You could choose just to do the room now and flight later, or they can do both. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but but we have Uplift, the buy now, pay later option. If you are certified, you can go forward and offer that too. For travel protection, I opted to not use FunJet for their travel protection, especially if they are booking their flights on their own. I do tell them to add their travel protection after the fact, just so they can add everything into one. All right, and then you do want to ask, are there any special accommodations that need to be made? Do they do they only need like a ground floor? Do they need any special accommodations like in the bathrooms? Like, is it just like a walk-in bathroom or any of that sort? And then the last thing I do ask, and this surprisingly was a great advantage for me, is I do ask if they want to sign up for my emails for any future deals, promotions, etc. And this is great for building a client base, especially if you do send out emails and you have like a mailing list going on. Right, and then what you want to do is you want to make it personable up at the top. So what I do is I put in like the wedding date, the wedding couple's name, where the wedding is going to be. So you want to make it personable as you can. And I do ask if they want to add any pictures to it too, just to kind of give it that extra touch. All right, so whenever somebody puts in when somebody fills out the inquiry form, they're ready to book for their book as a guest for the destination wedding. So I do follow up with them. So I do call and email the client to verify all the information is correct with the rates that and the booking information. If booking resort only, typically nothing is due at the time of booking. Everything will be due when that final payment is due. So when you go into FunJet, you just have to put in the traveler's name and phone number, and then you'll be able to save the booking from there. But if they want to put money down, great, you can also do that as well. All right, if booking resort and flights, generally the cost of flights are due at that time. If the guests are booking their own flights after reserving their room, they must provide you with their flight itinerary when available, because what you need to do is you have to put that into their reservation just so they know when that transportation needs to pick them up at the airport. So that is very, very, very important. If they are booking their flights on their own, you need to get that itinerary, or else you cannot guarantee that they're going to have transportation when they get to the airport. Obvious, you want to get the travelers' names. Ask if they want to put any money down. If so, get their credit card information. If they are putting money down, you do want to get that, send them that credit card authorization form. And then you want to ensure that you are releasing that resort itinerary after as well. And then you do want to fill out the commission tracking form as normal. That's generally what I do. All right, so this is like a copy of the email that I do send after they have booked when I do release the itinerary. So I put, thank you for booking your room for so-and-so's wedding. Here are the details for your room. A credit card authorization will be sent in a separate email. So I use Travelify for my credit card authorizations. So that is why it will be sent to them in a separate form. But if you use the old fashioned way and you have that PDF, you can just attach it right to your email as well. Be advised, due to the contract, we are asking that the remaining payment is made by November 1st. So what you want to do is when you get that contract for the final payment, what I like to do is I like to up it up by like a week or like 10 days. Just to give me that cushion if I need to do damage control with that contract in any way, shape, or form. All right, and then in this case, this person did request a king bed. So I did put in there, a king bed has been requested for your room. Please disregard where it says double beds. As it's not mandatory, but recommended, but if you decide that you want to, if you want to cancel for any reason travel insurance, you can purchase policy here, and I give them my tin leg link so they can do it on their own. So when it comes to the travel protection, what I do is when I get that email saying who purchased a policy and whatnot, I keep track of that. And then about 45 to 50 days out, when that final payment is due, I will send a reminder out to everybody who has booked and be like, hey, if you haven't booked your travel protection, do it now, or else I'm going to send them a form of them declining that travel protection that they will need to sign. All right, here are some deadlines to remember, and this is only an example. So about 66 days or more prior to departure, so there's no penalty for any canceled rooms. Room nights can be added during that time frame. Between 36 to 65 days prior to departure, only 20% of the existing room nights may be canceled without penalty, but the other 30% of the canceled room nights, they will be charged a penalty fee. But if they need to add more rooms, only 20% of the existing room block may be added. Around 45 days, that is when the final payment is due. But like I said, I do like to increase it a little bit just so I have that cushion. And then 0 to 35 days, so this is about a month before departure, it's going to be full penalties. So the bride and groom are going to be responsible for any rooms that were not booked. All right, so when you are doing a contract, you are going to be given a code for them to open up your dashboard.
By who? Given a code.
Hey, can you mute, please? All questions will be answered towards the end. All right, and then I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. So this is going to be the dashboard that you are going to see. So here you are going to see the resort name. You're going to see any details. So the one thing that I do love the most about the dashboard is that towards the bottom there, you are going to see a group service request form. So in the case where you have you need to exchange rooms, you need to add rooms, remove rooms, somebody wants to extend like the date, what you can do is you can open up a service request form, so you don't even have to call anybody, which is the best part of it, and normally they are very quick at getting that done as well. Yeah, and remember, this is all through FunJet. And then the good thing about FunJet is when you do a contract, you are going to be assigned a specific representative where if anything does happen, you can just communicate with them as well. All right, so the different tabs that you are going to see in your dashboard. So you have reservations. So these are the reservations that have already been made. So the part at the top where it says paid $500 gross amount, that was the deposit. And then anything after that are all of the reservations. So I did blur out the reservation numbers and the client names just for privacy purposes. But here you see their depart date, their return date, how much that trip was. All right, and then this is going to be the important one are the inventory. So if you see that something goes down to 0 and you have somebody that wants that ocean view room, what you can do is you can open up that service request and have them add a room for you. And then what they will do is they will just kind of like swap it out with from like a tropical room to a ocean view room. So they do a lot of switching and swapping before they do any of like additions, like adding more rooms, because you want to fill up your room block before you ask for more. So this part is the fun part. This is the part that I love seeing the most. So you do get a commission tab. So you will get the reservation, the name, and then you will actually see right from there how much commission is there. And then towards the bottom of all of the reservations, there's going to be another section that's going to say earn commission, and it's going to give you that total commission. So that's going to be the best part, of seeing that go up and up and up and up. All right. And then the next thing are payment transfers. So the bride and groom, they were required to pay up a $500 deposit. So what they can do is they can take that $500 and then they can divvy it up, and then they can give some money to like their parents. They can get to their parents' reservation, brother, sister. So they can divide that $500 up to how they want to. A lot of the times the bride and groom do choose to use it for their own reservation. So, but I do give them the option that they can do that. All right, so 45 to 50 days before departure. So this is going to be the time where you do want to collect your final payments. You do want to collect the flight itineraries if they are booking on their own. You do want to make sure that the one thing I did not add in here was making sure figuring out who got the travel protection, who didn't. So for those that ordered their own policies, you want to make sure that they're all set. For the ones that did not get a policy, you do want to send out that declining travel protection waiver to them, just so nobody is reliable at the end if anything were to happen. So the next thing you want to do is you want to mail out any travel documents that they need to know of. You want to send out thank you letters. I do include my business cards. I do slip in a gift to the guests. So anything cheap, such as like luggage tags, go a long way. I do send a gift to the bride and groom. So that could be anything from tumblers that say Mr. and Mrs. or like their last names, to hats, beach towels, anything that they can use on their vacation. And what I do is I will contact the resort for a free amenity, such as like a fruit basket, champagne, chocolate covered strawberries for the bride and groom, as well as both parents of the bride and the groom as well. All right, and then the day before departure, you want to email the guests wishing them safe travels. You want to answer any last minute questions that the guests may have. You do want to make sure that they do have your phone number and email in case of any resort discrepancies. Right, so I do tell them if there's anything that's happening, anything that doesn't look right, have them contact me, and then I will take it from there. So so they do not have to lift a finger, because we got to remember, even the guests are our clients as well. All right, and then knowing when everybody arrives safe, you can now breathe. You now survived your first destination wedding, so you can definitely give yourself a pat on the back and definitely breathe, relax, you're good, it's done. And then let us know so we can definitely celebrate your big accomplishment and kind of go from there. All right, so I know I kind of ran through that very quickly, but I do want to show you what my forms did look like. So I'm just going to go ahead and minimize here. All right, so I do want to show you what my destination wedding inquiry looks like. So I do have my destination wedding inquiry. First and foremost, congrats on your engagement. I kind of go from there. The next thing I do is due to the nature of travel and the extensive planning for our destination weddings, I do require a $800 non-refundable planning fee. And then I just kind of run down what that fee includes. So that goes for the researching, the communication, the quotes, staying up to date on the latest warnings and advisories, the communication with the guests. So that's going to be a big one. So the bride and groom don't have to deal with it. So that goes from them booking to their deposits, to payment reminders, to collecting their final payments. So the bride and groom, they don't have to deal with any of that basically. You do want to also provide those reminders to the guests as well, for those who have booked as well. My availability, and then also I do put in free planning services for their honeymoon, bachelorette party, honeymoon fund registries, and so on and so forth. So when they do something like that, I do not charge them a service fee for those additional options. So I have in here, do you agree to pay the $800 non-refundable planning fee? Yes or no? The first and last name of the couple, their email, phone number, where did they hear about us? Was it word of mouth? Was it social media, TikTok, LinkedIn? So that will give me a good idea on where I'm getting my client base from. So here you see where it says preferred wedding date, you see that they can't really type in a date, that they actually need to put in a date. So that kind of refrains them from putting in like January or February. Where do they want to get married? Please give that exact location. Please give an exact location. This kind of goes for the wedding package budget. Was their max, their budget per person for accommodations and airport transportation. And I do put in there, think of how much guests will pay for a minimum of 3 or 4 nights. All right, how many travelers, adults and children's, and how many rooms? Have you done your own research, and which best describes you? So I already booked my wedding. I just need the room block booked. I need both wedding and the room. I'm overwhelmed and I don't even know where to start. And then at the bottom there, I do put in my link for them to set an appointment for their wedding consultation. All right, so that is my inquiry form, right? So I am going to show you an example of what that client form will look like. So after I create the Google form for the clients, I do hand over that URL to the bride and groom, and then they can distribute it however they please, whether it's through text, save the dates, their wedding website. That's just something easy for them to just hand over. So just due to the privacy of my clients, I am not going to show the top of where they're getting married and all of that. So this is kind of like an example here. So I do ask for the first and last name. I do ask for their email, their phone number, how many travelers, and then I do put in the room block starts January 11th for 4 nights. When would you like to arrive and return from your trip? Which room type do they prefer? So I do put in here starting at 1049 for 3 nights, 130. So they have a good idea on how much that is going to be. Will they need airfare? Buy now, pay later, travel protection? Do they need any special accommodations? And would you like you be like to be put on the email list? And it is surprising at how many people do choose to be put on the email list, which is actually a very probably 8 out of 10 times I've had yeses. So it's definitely good for the client base. All right, so that was destination weddings. I know it does seem like a lot, but once you do like your first 2, you are definitely going to get into a rhythm. And you're going to find it easy. Like with me, I was nervous as all heck when I did my first destination wedding, because it's in Mexico and it was at a resort and I didn't know what I was doing. So once you get through the first 2, you are good to go. All right. The one thing that I don't know how to do though, which I do plan on looking into next month, is I don't know how to do destination weddings on cruises. So I am actually going to be doing more research on that within the next month or 2. And I do plan on giving another presentation on how to do that as well. Because I actually did have a potential client that unfortunately it ended up falling through the cracks, but they wanted a cruise destination wedding. So that kind of gave me the wheel spinning on what to do for that as well. So stay tuned for that. All right, so I am going to go ahead and